Get past the death and destruction caused by BP's oil spill 5 years ago, and there's little doubt that the Gulf Coast's economy has recovered and even received a big boost from an influx of $28 billion from BP.
I can't speak about responsibility on the rig or the tragedy or who bears the blame. That's for others. But when it comes to compensating innocent people, I think that what we did and what BP did deserves a great deal of praise.
BP turned over a $20 billion compensation fund to attorney Ken Feinberg just weeks after the well was capped, and he ended up settling with 220,000 people and businesses, paying them $6.5 billion in just 18 months. His successor running the court settlement program, Patrick Juneau, has paid another $5.4 billion to an additional 60,000 claimants.
$5.4 billion, that's a lot of money. Somebody got paid a whole lot of money.
But take a closer look at certain types of claimants and at the court battles that have tied up payments, and the question of whether BP is meeting its full financial obligations is, well, dicey. Just ask Louisiana Shrimp Association President Clint Guidry.
When we were doing the meetings with Ken Feinberg, we tried to present him with our idea of what adequate compensation should be, and he never did agree with us.
Feinberg settled quickly with 14,000 fishermen, but 10,000 of them took the so-called quick payments, the $25,000 settlements that required no additional documentation, but also a release of any further claims against BP. Guidry said many fishermen took it under duress.
So they were stuck in the middle of December, 2 weeks before Christmas, couldn't pay their bills, couldn't buy toys for their kids, and actually just went in and signed their life away for $25,000.
Feinberg refuses to believe that.
I hear that argument all the time, duress. I've never seen any evidence of duress. I see each fisherman making the decision as to what's best for the fisherman.
When Juneau replaced Feinberg in the process in 2012, a $2.3 billion compensation fund was set up just for the seafood industry. Commercial fishing data showed that that would more than cover any remaining losses. That may be true on paper, but only half of the 10,000 claimants in that program got paid before Juneau decided to move on to a second round of payments.
I didn't think it was right to hold up all these people who ain't got a problem because of the ones that may have a problem.
Beyond fishing, a recent report by LSU economist Lauren Scott showed how other types of businesses, especially those in the tourism industry, have come out ahead. But then there are the 30,000 to 40,000 Gulf Coast businesses whose claims were held up while BP fought with the man handing out their money. After expressly telling Juneau they agreed with his payment methods, BP officials reversed course and attacked Juneau for hijacking the settlement. BP lost again and again in court, but then tried to portray itself as a victim in the court of public opinion.
But now, 4 years later, BP says it's the victim of Gulf Coast swindlers who had the oil giant over a barrel.
I didn't like that. It took its toll. I got a family. I got 3 kids. I got grandkids. And
Did you think about walking away?
I thought about that. I did.
When was that the most intense that you felt like I'm not going to take this?
It came about 300 times.
More importantly, BP's anti-Juneau strategy affected real Gulf Coast businesses. In mid-2013, Nat Krasnoff's company, Digital Designers, which supplies security systems for hotels and workboats, was about to receive a final settlement check, or so he thought. 4 months went by.
So I don't know why it's held up.
10 months.
It's a step in the right direction. We're not counting our chickens.
21 months.
It's more than a little frustrating. This has been almost a half a decade since 50% of our business literally went away in one day. Half a decade, that's a long time.
It was just when Digital Designers was about to be paid that Juneau was forced to start a whole new accounting process for business claims. Disputes over how it should be implemented still affect thousands of claimants to this day.
First place, the process is failing us. So if it's failing us, it's failing thousands of other companies. It's a failed process.
And how about oil spill cleanup workers? They too were promised money for skin, eye, and breathing ailments they claim to have suffered from direct exposure to the oil and cleaning chemicals. More than 40,000 people filed claims, but 3 years after the settlement was signed, Medical Claims Administrator Matt Garrettson has paid just 900 workers a total of $1.3 million. How do we get through all this in less than 6 years or whatever?
No, that's a fair point. It's like any system where you're processing claims, you get better as you go. You get more efficient. You figure out what was causing any bottlenecks, and you work through technology and people and process to improve them. And I think we've done that.
The cleanup workers tell us they're getting desperate.
There's 1,000 of us out here suffering. Release our medical benefits, please.
BP paid $24 billion in the first 3 years to show its good faith. But in the 2 years since then, it's paid just $4 billion total.
I thought I'd really be through now. I really did.
And it could be several more years before the whole thing is done. BP has about $15 billion set aside for future costs. But that would barely cover the maximum civil pollution penalty the company could be assessed in federal court. Then they could owe as much as $10 billion more for settlement payments and environmental damages. There are big winners, but also so many losers among those still waiting for BP to make it right.
Every day that we stall and we don't have all our money, we're losing the value of the settlement.